This is the 2021 Lexus RX450h, which stands for hybrid. The RX is the most popular selling Lexus, and in fact, this model alone outsells every other Lexus model there is. They sell about 100,000 of these a year. So let's see what's new for 2021, and let's see if we can figure out why this car is so popular, because it's not new. The RX is Lexus's most popular model, and now we're on the 4th generation. This was introduced in 2015, and they did a refresh in 2020, and it sort of sharpened up the grille. We have this huge waterfall grille that Lexus likes to do right now. Big emblem. This has some options. This has a lot of blackout trim on it, just a little bit of chrome. And this also has the option of LED projector headlights with 3 separate elements. And of course you have this Lexus signature L, which is an LED driving light. This has the FSport package, which now is mostly an appearance package, but you do get these 20-inch wheels. There's also an additional option of the FSport handling package, and it includes adaptive dampers, and it includes the FSport front seats. I guess they have more bolstering. But don't be fooled by any of that. Even though this is an FSport, this is clearly a luxury SUV, and nobody's going to be hooning this thing in the canyons, except maybe me. Let's talk about the hybrid powertrain. So unlike most hybrids from Toyota, which have a 4-cylinder engine, this one has the 3.5-liter V6 as the base engine, and then you get 3 additional electric motors. One motor functions as the generator. There's another motor up front which drives the front wheels, and then you get an additional electric motor in the back which drives the rear wheels, making this an all-wheel drive. The rear wheels are powered purely by the electric motor, which means there's no drive shaft going from front to back. That reduces complexity, saves a little bit of weight. An all-wheel drive is great if it's dumping snow like it is today. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get out of this parking lot in the middle of the winter in California. I know life is really rough. And overall, the combined output of this engine with all 3 motors is 308 horsepower. Now, aside from that nice 308 horsepower number, you're supposed to get 30 miles per gallon combined, according to the EPA. I do think this is a pretty handsome wagon. I like all the creases and lines. I think Lexus is doing a really nice job from a styling perspective recently. You've got these classic characteristic L's sort of flowing into the center of the hatch, and you've got a little bar which kind of connects both sides of the vehicle. The glass for the hatch is pretty raked. It's about a 45-degree angle, and even though it looks good, you do lose a little bit of cargo capacity because of that. The front seats are pretty comfortable. I find them a little bit flat, and the lumbar support is only a 2-way adjustment. You can adjust it in and out, but not up and down. I think for me, I'd like to have a little bit more lumbar adjustment. I haven't tried the sport seats, so I don't know how those are. They're 10-way adjustable, and this has the option of the memory setting here, which is part of an additional package. Of course, you got to pay extra for that, where you can actually remember the seat position. I don't know why they don't make that standard in a vehicle that starts at about $51,000. There's a lot of storage in this vehicle, even in the doors. These are pretty big pockets, and if you think you can't get your water in here, just pop it out, and you got a little bit extra storage. I think you can fit a big person here too. This has the option of this brushed aluminum Lexus logo for the door sills. The front of the cabin is very roomy. You can put the seats very far back or very up close. There's lots of headroom up here. And this also has an optional sunroof. The rear seats are super roomy. There's a lot of space over here for my head because it has a little arc over here. And that's because it doesn't have a panoramic sunroof. This is an optional sunroof, but if it had a panoramic sunroof, I think it would cut into the headroom in the back here. So even for a tall person, lots of space. You can easily fit a baby seat in here. You could seat 5 people if you absolutely needed to. The front seats have these little cutouts here, little indentations for your knees. So if you have a really tall driver, really tall rear passenger, I think you're still gonna be pretty good. The rear doors have storage cubbies as well. There's storage pockets in the rear too, so you can put a phone. Probably can't get a whole bottle of water in here, but still pretty good. The rear seat passengers also get 2 separate USB charging ports, super cool, and you've got 2 individual vents to direct the heating or the cooling. This has the optional foot-activated rear hatch thing. Oh my God, it worked! That's only the second time I've ever got one of those things to work, so that's pretty good. In terms of storage space, it's not quite as big as I would have expected. This is nearly 11 inches longer than the RAV4, yet looking at the storage capacity here, it seems to be about the same or even perhaps a little bit less than the RAV4. Wish it had a bit more space back here. This is a fairly big-sized SUV, and even though there's a ton of space for the passengers, I wish it just had a little bit more storage capacity for luggage. Unlike the rest of the Lexus lineup, which is built in Japan, this is built in Ontario, Canada. Don't you know it, eh? Oh yeah, hoser. This has Lexus Safety System 2.0. It has a whole bunch of standard features, including radar cruise control, pedestrian detection, cyclist detection. If it figures out that you're going to crash into something, it's going to try to stop you. And a lot of manufacturers are putting these in their cars right now, and it works pretty darn well in the Lexus here. My one complaint is the lane tracing assist, which is supposed to keep you in your lane when you're going down the highway. It doesn't work as well as I think it should. The standard display is 8 inches, but this has the Mark Levinson audio package with navigation. You get the 12.3-inch display, and it is finally touch sensitive, which is kind of nice. It also comes with Apple CarPlay, and it's pretty bright. It's fairly responsive. You can split the screen up to show different things. So if I want to listen to my Busta Rhymes, for example, I can have that up on the display while I'm doing my navigation as well. And you have different things over here too. You can kind of split up the screen, which is kind of nice. You still get this trackpad down here, which is not really very good, but Lexus loves to hang on to the trackpad. And overall, I think the display is actually pretty good. You don't need to interface with it too much because you got a lot of physical controls elsewhere for your heating and ventilation, and you can actually control some of the basic stuff too for forward and back for your track selection. One of the things you get for 2021 is a standard rear cross-traffic alert. So when I put it in reverse, it's going to alert me if there's any traffic behind me, not like there is right now. So that's kind of nice. The backup camera works pretty well too, and you have these guidelines so you can kind of tell what you're going to run over. Now let's take it on the road and see how it drives. It's very, very quiet in here. It's a very quiet cabin. Lexus, Toyota has done a lot of work with adhesives and also weld points to make the structure really, really stiff. They've retuned the suspension slightly for 2021 to also reduce cabin noise a little bit as well. Let's talk about the steering. So the steering, I don't think is very good. It's extremely light. There is absolutely no feel at all. And I guess that's absolutely fine for the consumer of this vehicle. The average person who's going to buy this probably doesn't care about that at all. But it is good in that it's very easy to place the vehicle. It's very precise. It's very accurate. So despite the fact that it has 308 combined horsepower, it's really not that fast. This is a fairly heavy vehicle. This weighs in the range of 4,700 pounds, and it's just not that quick, to be honest with you. Full throttle. It's made it to a CVT, a continuously variable transmission. That means it has no actual physical gears. And you sort of get this effect, this rubber band effect a little bit when you put your foot down. You kind of get these revs that aren't really in line with the amount of acceleration that you're getting. A lot of Toyota products now use CVT transmissions, so if you've driven Toyota products before, if you've driven any of their hybrids, you're probably pretty used to it. It is pretty refined at this point. It's just nothing that an enthusiast is really going to get super excited about. So of course this is the F-Sport, and this is a very aggressive looking vehicle. I really like the way it looks, but there's really nothing sporty about this whatsoever. This is definitely not going to be your first choice if you're looking for something that can haul a lot of passengers and handle really well and carve the canyons. This is not really it. It's okay to drive, but it's not exciting. It doesn't get your blood pumping, nothing like that. This is a big SUV for hauling a lot of passengers around in really good comfort. The ride quality is really, really good in here. It has the ability to soak up little imperfections in the pavement. You still feel them, but it really sort of mutes them and takes out the edge. There's no sharp edges in here at all when you're driving. When you go over bigger imperfections in the road, like expansion joints in the freeway, again, it does a really great job of just sort of taking out all of the harshness. Now, it's not floaty by any means, which is kind of nice because some SUVs can be a little bit floaty. This definitely carries its weight really, really well. But the ride quality is definitely one of the high points. This is, after all, a luxury SUV, and I think that's part and parcel with the whole package. The overall balance of comfort versus performance is definitely much more on the comfort side, definitely much more on the luxury side. The quietness is really, really nice to have in here. I like the cabin stiffness. Overall, it drives very, very well. Handles its weight extremely well. This is going to be a great vehicle for long road trips with a few people, a little bit of luggage.
The RX450h is a luxury SUV that brings together a great ride, a beautiful cabin, and that famous Lexus build quality. The fit and finish is really top-notch in here, and the Mark Levinson audio system, it's a high point. Even though Toyota and Lexus probably make more hybrids than just about anybody else, the fuel economy was a bit disappointing. Despite the EPA combined rating of 30 miles per gallon, I was only able to average 23.5 mpg in a mix of highway and stop-and-go driving. The RX450h is a valiant warrior in a sea of competitors, and it's definitely on my short list. I think it should be on yours too. Thanks for watching.